What's good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we're back here with another one. And as usual, I am joined by the man, the myth, the legend, the Jason Taylor to my Zach Thomas. I guess both of us, the often imitated but rarely duplicated. What's going on, EM?
What's good, homie?
Bro, I'm just here seeing another day, bro. You know what it is, brother.
Here, bro. What's up, Fins Nation?
What's good, guys? What's going on, everyone in the chat? We see what's going on. Jeanette Sanchez, Cecil Bradley, Rhino, George, what's going on? Clemente 3472. What's good, everyone?
Let's get into this.
It is what it is. Let's do it. You know what I'm saying? What's good, King Mill? Here early. No, you're just in time. What's good, Rip Tupac? Everyone just saying, giving shout out. What's good, Quint? What's good, Quint Riddle?
Quint in the house. What's up, homie?
I wanted to start off. I hope everyone just is, whether you're getting off work or whether you just finished dinner, I hope you enjoy the show we're about to drop on y'all. What's good, Troy Hicks? What's good, Foreign Butter? What's good, Sharif? We got a donation on PayPal literally before we went live, so I just want to shout. I believe it was it Rhino? Was it you, Rhino? Yes, it was. This is Rhino. Great up, keep it up, boys. Great streams, and he donated a couple of dollars. Thanks, man. You know, Rhino, the support you constantly show us by retweeting our stuff. You know, dropping the links all the time in the comment section and your donations, man.
Absolutely,
we appreciate it, brother.
Hey, love and support.
Rhino, I appreciate the support constantly in the DMs, bro, because this man always hitting me up. We always have good dialogue going on, even though sometimes it's about the haters out there, but we got some good dialogue going on. So shout out to you, Rhino. You're a good dude.
Absolutely. Hey, your love and support, Rhino, it's not going unnoticed, bro. Just want to make sure you know that.
And Clemente is right. Hit that like button on the way in, guys, just because it'll help the YouTube algorithm, and it'll pop us up into more people's subscription feeds, suggested feeds, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, man, every like, every subscription counts. We're slowly eking our way to 900. Let's get to that 1K, guys, because we got a legit giveaway in mind for you guys. I think you're really going to like. You're going to get a preview here in about a week when mine arrive. But at 1K, we're going to do a giveaway, everyone. And that's what we're going to do, man. At 1K, 2K, 3K, 4K, 5K, God bless if we get there. We're going to do giveaways, man. We're going to keep showing. We're going to keep trying to show love back to you guys, as much love as you guys continue to show to us, man.
Absolutely.
It's not just about take. It's a give and take thing out here, man. And, you know, we just appreciate each and every one of you for always coming out here and spending a couple hours of your evening every time we go live. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, anything you want to add to that, EM?
No, bro. Again, all of the support from everyone. It's greatly appreciated. Greatly appreciated always.
Yeah, man. And we obviously know y'all's support has been helping spread the word out. You know, and we're obviously doing something right when we see how other people are moving right now. So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
often imitated, never duplicated, my friend. Yeah, we got 2-hour streams, but we also don't got $2 graphics on this side of the street. So let's hit this up. Let's get right into it, bro. Let's start off on a good note here. Let's start off with our boy out here putting in the work, and let's read the caption. Being just a returner days are over. I am a receiver. And this is Jakeem Grant looking shredded as ever, like he about to take on a secondary with his fists, never mind his legs. Let's just watch this for a sec, everyone. This man, he wants to take it to that next level. Look at the cut. Look at the cuts. Look at the cuts. Woo! He rounded out his last cut a little bit at the end there, but that first two cuts. Those first two cuts, if you guys watch them, they're really sharp. That third, he kind of rounded out just a touch. But those first two cuts, those short explosive cuts, man, that short area burst you saw in those first two cuts was quick on display, man. Whew.
Oh yeah.
I mean, man, with that kind of
He
speed,
looks fantastic.
with that kind of speed, man, as long as you can stay healthy, right?
That's the thing. This right here.
Boom, rounds it a bit, and then oof.
See this at this stage, this version. I'm not concerned about this Jakeem Grant. It's just him staying healthy is what my concern is. He's about his grind. He's proven that.
And it's about those first 5 yards off the line too, right? Because he's a guy because he's got it. Like I like to see him shred like this because he's got to get as strong as possible, man. Because he's he's easier because of his frame to bump than most other guys, bro. Especially if he wants to be a boundary guy, you know.
But you know what? Strength has never been a concern of mine in Jakeem Grant because if you go back to his combine numbers, I think he put up 225 pounds like 19 times, I believe, when he came out, the year he came out. So strength has never been an issue. It's his hand placement, it's his technique off the line of scrimmage was, has been, since he's been in the NFL, somewhat concerning. But I will say this again, I'm not concerned about, him grinding. He's all about his grind. He's been consistent about that since we drafted him. But his staying healthy is the issue with Jakeem Grant. That's the issue. And also, he does have a tendency to have the drops a little bit. He needs to shore up those hands just a little bit more. And but those two issues, he can clean those up. He can definitely be a significant contributor for us because he's got way too much athleticism to be not utilized. You know what I mean? And not be a bigger part of the week-to-week game plan. So. Yeah, I hope he gets together, man, and I hope things work out for him because it's just, it's for the better of the team anyway.
I mean, for sure, and that we talk about that speed and that athleticism, even though it's in that small of a package, you can't teach that, right? And
absolutely.
That's something we know when Tua eventually takes those reins, especially in those short areas.
Y'all know what it is, baby.
He can utilize that big time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And
that's a skill set.
And see, I don't know why his game doesn't, you don't see the, I don't know why Miami doesn't implement him more like in the slot more as opposed to the boundary. Because when you're on a boundary, teams can, in my opinion, scheme better for you on a boundary as opposed to being in a slot. So like, especially if you're talking about implementation of spread concepts, I'm not saying I wouldn't play him at all on a boundary, but I would like to see him more because you see his ability to move in confined areas. His short area quickness is like next level, bro, even for NFL standards. So I don't know why Miami doesn't utilize him more in that regard. So that'll be interesting. Again, that's another situation to pay close attention to in training camp to see how he's utilized. Hopefully he's utilized more. Because again, like I said, wherever he goes, he's on the field. Teams are identifying players with that kind of speed. I mean, he's got that what I call that crackhead type speed, that Mike Wallace, Tyreek Hill, Deshaun Jackson type speed, rare speed. And that's what I mean.
Only he had that Deshaun Jackson size and those Deshaun Jackson hands.
Yeah. We have something, but yeah, I would like to see him more. Operated more out of the slot
and Manifest 13 does make a good point. Another downfall for him is his small catch radius.
Yeah, exactly. So so the slot would suit him better in that regard. So
Rhino says maybe they don't think he's physical enough for the slot.
Well, I think they think he might not be durable enough because in a slot you're gonna get more collisions than you will on a boundary. So, considering his durability issues since he's been in the league, that might be the mindset of the Dolphins in terms of implementing him more in that role. But, I would love to see that.
People don't realize how good he was on the perimeter in college, though. I don't think people really.
Yeah, I think he had his last year he had like 98 catches over 1,300 yards. Yeah. His last year at Texas Tech, bro. So he's showing that he can. He's got hands. Just don't know, man, what has been. Well, I think it's, I'm sorry, man, I went blank there for a minute. My bad, bro. Yeah, man, I just hope I just hope they find a way to get him get him more involved in the way we do things. So, because I think, again, like I said, if you have a player like that with that kind of speed, it's gonna be to the benefit of the offense overall. Because again, speed is what kills in the NFL. That's the way it's always been. That's the way it's gonna always be. So whenever teams identify a player with that kind of rare speed, even potentially your boy Kirk Merritt, that generally teams scheme to take away that speed. And again, and that's what I mean by taking the coverage with him. So yeah, it can only help the offense, bro. So I hope they find a way to implement him more than the way we do things. So yeah, it'd be interesting. That's another storyline we need to be paying attention to come training camp, bro.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. So let's get into Ryan Fitzpatrick again, because we've been talking about the whole Fitzpatrick thing, who's going to start, and me and you have constantly been saying we've been pretty consistent that people really sleep on how good he was in those last 6 games once he got those reins back, once he got settled in. Me and you have both on record of saying that we believe he should be the day one starter because he's earned that right with his play last year. So one thing was last year, Ryan Fitzpatrick ranked as the 8th best deep passer of 2019. So just hear from Nick Shook from NFL.com. This is the outlier. Fitzpatrick led the Dolphins in rushing. He shouldn't be here, right? Well, Fitzpatrick got here by being the daring risk taker he's long been, sending more of his deep passes into tight windows than not. 56.6% of his 53 deep passes attempts were into tight windows, so more than half. That type of loose play produced 6 touchdowns for the Dolphins, who rode Fitzpatrick's efforts and energy to a handful of respectful wins, enough to keep them from drafting in the top 3. So much for tanking for Tua, whom they still got at number 5 overall. Ryan Fitzpatrick is on this list. Seriously, what a funny, strange game this is. And that's because he finished in the top 10, finishing as the 8th best deep passer. And I'll give you guys the list itself. But people are sleeping. I mean, he showed his improvisation skills when the play broke down. When 56% of your deep passes out of 53 attempts, 56.6 are in tight windows. Bro, not only does it show his ability to make things happen, but as bad as things were around him, does that not show at least a little bit of comfort in his and trust in his own ability to make things happen?
I've been saying this all year, bro. You know what I mean? But again, this article right here just confirms what I told you. I go back and watch minimum every Dolphins game 3 times every year over the course of the year.
He had 100.8 passer rating on deep passes.
That's impressive. And again, this is a confirmation what I've been saying. I had been seeing on tape, and this is what I referenced as the structure, the more implementation of structure in his game, the timing, the anticipation, the accuracy, the improvisation. I'm telling you, this is the best year Ryan Fitzpatrick has ever had in his entire career. We've seen him get extremely hot in stretches. We've seen him get, be extremely bad in situations. But what we saw the leveled out play with Ryan Fitzpatrick. He got hot, but we never saw him get too low. And that was I've been consistent about this all year long. I said, man, even when in November and December, I kept on TD stream, I kept telling people, y'all need to pay attention to this man's overall game, the structure that is so impressive. The structure you saw this year, in my opinion, I've never seen that during any stretch of his career. I haven't seen it.
I want to put it in the perspective of how good he was. Since rejoining the lineup in week 6, Ryan Fitzpatrick became PFF's 10th highest graded quarterback in the NFL, but it gets better. Against New England, okay? That last game, Ryan Fitzpatrick had a 91.6 passer rating on 8.3 yards per attempt. Only Lamar Jackson and Deshaun Watson topped those marks against New England that past season, bro.
Again, structure. And
since week six, from week 6 on, 256 of 409 attempts for 2,906 yards, 18 touchdowns. His 2,906 yards in that span were the third most in the NFL behind only Jameis Winston and Dak Prescott. His 18 passing touchdowns in that span were tied for 8th with Aaron Rodgers.
So the fact that people say, this is why I used to get so frustrated on TD's platform when individuals would say, all he did was throw up 50-50 footballs all year long, and that was the reason for the success he had last year. Buffoonery. I called it. It's nothing. That is straight before anybody that keeps saying that. It's ridiculous. Again, 2 things. You don't know what it takes. You don't have a high level of understanding of what it takes to actually be successful, at that position, and you don't know what you're seeing on film. Because I'm telling you, every aspect of his game was an improvement, and everything. And I think when you dig into the analytics, and again, what do I always say? You want the analytics to confirm what you see on tape. If you go and look at him mechanically, he's so much more cleaner than he has been, in the last 10 years. Again, that's why I said I've never seen him, his game more structured than I have, last year compared to any point of his career. And it starts mechanically. His mechanics was so much more cleaner than he's ever been.
He didn't have those 3 or 4 interception games.
Never. Yeah. I think all of his aspects in terms of, diagnosing defenses, okay, mechanically, anticipation, accuracy, all of aspects of his, I saw improvement. And this is with the worst rushing offense in 100+ year history of the NFL.
Thanks for segueing me, Yem. Ryan Fitzpatrick's 229 rush yards last year were the 4th most all-time by a player 37+ years old. Number 1 was Marcus Allen, number 2 was Doug Flutie, and number 3 was Steve Young, and then number 4 is Ryan Fitzpatrick. And check this out. His 3 touchdowns is tied for the 5th most all-time of a player 37+ years or more. And his 4.98 yards per carry is also 4th most all-time by a player 37 years or older on a minimum of 20 carries. But let's go back to the past for a second. Okay? So, the former record, okay, for yards thrown in the first half, the former franchise record was Dan Marino in 1991 against New England, and he had 236 yards. Last year, in that New England game to end the season, Ryan Fitzpatrick's 245 passing yards in the first half broke Dan Marino's franchise record for the most passing yards in the first half in franchise history. So Ryan Fitzpatrick also holds a franchise record that he gained on the road in Gillette Stadium.
On the road in New England, when New England had to get that game to solidify their playoff status, and he goes in there and has the game that he had, and ultimately we wound up winning that football game. Again, it's refreshing to see people, okay, that recognize and have a high level of respect, for what they saw on tape, not opinion, but what they saw on tape. When you see articles like this, because again, I midway from October to in November, I was consistently telling people on TD Stream, nobody would listen though. But I said, y'all need to really pay attention to what this guy is achieving, considering the lack of what he had around him, especially up front in terms of our offensive line. And again, I'll say this again. I can't stress and emphasize this enough. People don't realize how difficult it is on a quarterback when they do not have a running game, the presence of a running game in their offensive attack.
Why does Dan Marino not have a Super Bowl? Because he only ever had one.
Exactly.
Exactly. Abdul-Jabbar. Other than that, if you're not going to respect the run and you're just going to scheme for the pass, you're eventually going to run into a wall.
Exactly. And so what happens when teams don't scheme for the run? When teams don't, they're able to not having to scheme for the running game. What that does is they can drop more people back in terms of coverage, which shrinks the windows that quarterbacks have to distribute the football. So what happens is, the quarterback, it takes longer for the quarterback to survey the field. It takes longer for guys to get open. So you have to be, in terms of your accuracy, you have to be that much better. In terms of your anticipation, you have to be that much better. You know what I mean? In terms of your ball placement, all of your you have to, from a quarterback standpoint, you have to be that much better whenever you're put in a scenario like that. And he did, and he had to deal with that all year. Most quarterbacks have to deal with that maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 games at the most, 4 games at the most. This dude, this is what he had, at his disposal in terms of the lack of running game. He had all year long, and he still had the season that he had last year. Again, did he put up 50 touchdowns? Absolutely not. But I'm telling people in our community, this Dolphins community, with improvement up front around him, with a scheme that he's already familiar with, Ian Chan-Gailey, and also with the improvement of Devontae Parker, the health of Albert Wilson, the health of Preston Williams. We saw what the connection he and Preston Williams had before he got hurt. We saw that consistently last year. So again, the addition to the weaponry around him, in addition to improvement up front, establish a running game. I'm telling you, this kid, am I going to sit here and say that he's going to put up Patrick Mahomes type numbers? No, absolutely not. I'm not saying he's that caliber of quarterback, but he's an excellent complementary piece. He gives us stability at that position.
Here's the thing. People got to get it twisted. We're just, first of all, the whole point of this is stop downplaying how good he was with how historically bad some of the stuff he had was around him, That's the first thing. Second of all, he's a bridge quarterback. The reason why it's in our best interest for him to be successful is because, A, if he's successful, not only are we winning games, but 2 is sitting there and he's learning from this guy.
Exactly.
Okay? And number 3, people need to realize that we're not expecting 35, 40 touchdowns. What we're looking for is we saw structure in this game last year to the hope of we can get to a point where we get 25, 26, 27 touchdowns, but we get only 8 or 9 interceptions.
Exactly. Efficiency.
That's all we're saying here. We're talking about, look at Brad Johnson with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, What was Brad Johnson did? He didn't blow up the stat sheet, but what did he do,
Exactly.
He didn't turn the ball over.
Exactly.
That's all we're saying. We're saying if you look at what he was last year to what he was in Tampa, New York, Buffalo, wherever, you can see Flores is already instilling a structure in Fitzpatrick's game that we hadn't really seen before. Exactly. That's what we're saying. So now this is going to be year 2 of them not only giving him a better offensive line, giving him better weapons, upgrading the backfield behind him, and upgrading the pieces around him with guys potentially that could crack it like Kirk Merritt and stuff. But it's also the second year to grow on that structure. And with more talent around him, he's going to be less susceptible to having to improvise. And so those 2 touchdowns he threw in tight windows could be wiped out now.
Exactly. And again, you don't want your quarterback having to rely so much on improvisation. You want your quarterback making plays within the timing and within the structure of the play that's being called. 2, you don't want, again, I've talked about Lamar Jackson. We talked about Patrick Mahomes. Like he talked about how he didn't learn how to read defense. He really basically didn't know know what he was doing, throughout last year. He didn't know how to read in terms of reading coverages. Mm-hmm. So, but from a coaching standpoint, you don't want your quarterback relying, on their improvisation too much. You want things to run smooth. You want the timing of the play to develop. You want your quarterback, to be in a situation where, again, the play is structured, your quarterback is structured, and ultimately the timing of the play, you want that to play itself out.
And Ryan was doing it right here. Basically, what you want is you want him to be efficient, but you want him to complement a good rushing attack.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And when look at Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill is a prime example.
The year with J.J. and that unicorn.
Prime example. Now I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is more skilled in terms of his he's more skilled in terms of his accuracy, in terms of his
IQ than Tannehill.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's more accurate. He's been consistently more accurate. He's his anticipation is better. I even think one could argue he's even a better athlete, even at 37, than what Tannehill is. But I think his pocket awareness is a lot better than what Tannehill's was. His feel for the pocket is so much better. Obviously, mechanically, what I saw last year on film is better than what Ryan Tannehill has ever been. So, but you want that. What Ryan Tannehill was to the Tennessee Titans last year, he was efficient. Okay, but the difference is when you take the running game away from Ryan Tannehill, his production dips significantly. But with Ryan Fitzpatrick, when he didn't have the benefit of a running game, his stats went up. His stats inclined. So again, ultimately what you want is, a Tannehill type, because the Tannehill, again, during the regular season, for a good, for stretches, he was very efficient. And that's what you want really at the end of the day, any quarterback to be. Okay, if you get Patrick Mahomes type 50, 53 touchdown type production, okay, that's cherry on top of the cake. But again, you want efficiency. You want good decision making. You want players to be judicious with the football. And that's what we got with Ryan Fitzpatrick. And again,
eighth best QBR in the league with that 66.5.
Exactly. And if you give him a running game, I keep telling you, I cannot wait till the season starts to see what kind of production we can get from him with the benefit of a running game, with the establishment of a running game. So I think, again, I love Tua. We all know how I feel about Tua. I'm comfortable with either scenario. Whether Tua, if he's as healthy as can be, if he starts day one, so be it. But I think Fitzpatrick, he just really impressed me last year. He earned tons of respect from me last year, and I think he earned the right to be our starter day one if he doesn't revert back to Fitztragic or whatnot. But on paper, we should see increased production at that position, bro. And again, that same structure that he was taught within our program, Tua's getting that benefit as well. Tua's getting that same benefit. Whatever they're doing, whatever philosophies they brought from New England, that New England has established over the years, okay, that we saw Tom Brady #1 benefit from, your Jacoby Brissett's, your Jimmy Garoppolo's, your Ryan Tannehill's in Tennessee, because Mike Vrabel is an extension of that Bill Belichick coaching tree. Whatever they're teaching these players, we've seen players get better from under that tutelage. We've seen that, even when they take it to other organizations. So again, I think Ryan Fitzpatrick benefited from that, and Tua he's going to have the opportunity to benefit that as well.
Agreed. And Jeremy, we're not saying he's the answer; he's the bridge. There's a big difference.
Yeah, nobody's saying that. He's the bridge. Nobody's saying that. Yeah. Nobody's saying that. And again, so we're clear. We just want my expectation of him next year is to be efficient. I think his numbers will be better next year in terms of his touchdown totals. I think barring any kind of catastrophic health issues or anything we have on to keep players on our offense, I can see that 28 touchdown, that 20, I can see it going to 28, 30, maybe even surpassing 30 touchdowns next year. But as long as he's efficient, he's accurate, you know what I mean? Making good decisions, that's my expectation for him next year.
I'm looking for him to land between. Give me that 25 to 28 touchdown mark, and give me under 10. Give me 8 or 9 interceptions, and I think that's successful, man.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think behind a decent running game, they'll be good to go with that, bro.
And I'm telling you, that running game, I'm telling you, now will benefit from the play action. Now play action will be an actual thing that teams have to prepare for. And I keep telling people, if teams have to prepare for that play action, it just opens everything up. You'll see the impact of Mike Gesicki going down them seam routes open up. It opens everything up for everybody else. So much more space to operate in the intermediate part of the field, and that is where Fitzpatrick feasts. So, telling you, remember, y'all out there that doubting this man, you remember where you heard it first. Remember where you heard it first.
So, something that's been coming up the past couple of days, let's hop into this, has been Dalvin Cook, bro.
Oh, man, I don't want to get my hopes all reason.
And hold on a sec. Breda's a UFA after this year. Okay, so this was reported yesterday by Courtney Cronin, who basically broke the whole thing. Dalvin Cook has been playing the waiting game for an extension for months and without resolution as the offseason program progresses. Cook's decision to sit out the remainder until he gets a new deal shouldn't surprise anyone. From sources I've spoken with in recent weeks and in time following the draft, the reason for an impasse in negotiations is over the number Cook is looking for. Sources have told me the ideal figure is north of what Christian McCaffrey is making, which is $16 million a year. But it does not seem to be the Vikings want can be in the ballpark. Now, I did see today that he'd be willing to take around $13 million per year. So this kind of leaked over into some people hypothesizing, bro, and specifically NFL trade rumors. And this is the pitch as to why a Dolphins-Vikings deal could work. The Dolphins currently own the third most cap space in the NFL at $29.82 million. So then potentially inking Cook to an extension wouldn't be a huge problem, whereas Minnesota only has $11.75 million to work with. Despite the Pro Bowler's injuries concern, he played just 15 games in his first 2 seasons. He proved in 2019 that when healthy, he's one of the most versatile running backs in the league. Therefore, the Vikings should ask for 2 draft picks in return for Cook. A first and a 4th round selection in the 2021 draft would be more than enough to get the deal done. Miami would land the running back of the future to pair alongside quarterback Tua Tagovailoa and wide receiver Devontae Parker, and Minnesota would acquire valuable draft capital that will help the franchise move past losing their 2017 second-round pick. Keep in mind that Cook is from Miami and played college ball at Florida State, so a move to the Dolphins certainly would pique his interest.
Wow. I'm not, bro, you're getting my hopes up, man. You get me all excited. And listen. Let me be clear. I would love for the Dolphins, after even who we brought in free agency and the trade for Matt Breida, I would love for the Dolphins to make this investment. I think $13 million, considering his durability issues, that might be a little, that's a little too rich for, that's a little too much for a player. It's not an indictment on the kid's talent.
Well, it's because you got to pay him.
Exactly. It's his
not only you got to give up
issues.
a first and a 4th, but he's got the durability issues you just mentioned, but you also got to pay him.
Wait. Did they say a first?
A first and a 4th.
Oh, no. Oh, hell. No. It's not indictment on the kid's talent. I would love for the Dolphins to pull this off some way. But a 4th or 5th, and you have to pay him, absolutely. If I'm not going to make that investment for Jadeveon Clowney, who's obviously one of the top 5 most impactful players in the entire NFL, I'm not going to make that kind of investment on a running back. But I say that to say this. It's not an indictment on that kid's talent. I love Dalvin Cook. And if the Dolphins some way, somehow found a way to make a reasonable offer to them and to secure his talent, maybe not at that $13 million price tag, but we can get him around 9 or 10, I would love for the Dolphins to pull a flyer on him, bro, because he would be, because he's still, I think he's 24, 25 years old.
Yeah, he's young.
Still young, but the durability issues are concerning. But oh my God, bro, we would have clearly the best backfield in the entire NFL. It wouldn't even be close, in my opinion. And if you lock him up long term, you can let Breida walk because he can give you what Matt Breida gives you in terms of in the passing game. I mean, he might not be quite the athlete Breida is from a straight line speed perspective, but he's a burner.
So just to continue here for a sec, this is Courtney Cronin again. I really do think something will work out between the Vikings and Dalvin Cook when this is all said and done. Vikings can afford top 5 money, which would put Cook in the David Johnson range at $13 million a season. There's still time, but sources tell me Cook will absolutely not play for the Vikings in 2020 without a new deal.
Again, that a first and a fourth, bro, and you have to pay this kid. That's too much of an investment for a running back. You know, again, it's not an indictment on this kid's talent. I think he's one of the 5, 6, or 7-ish. He's the 7th. He's in that, in that realm in terms of best backs in the league overall, all around, because of the dual threat ability that he has in the passing game as well as running the football.
And he's super elusive too, right?
Oh, absolutely. He's electric in open field, bro. But if the Dolphins were to get him reasonably, and they can get him around 8, 9-ish, 10 will be max. But if they can get him, for a reasonable price, I'd be off.
Check this out. He averages over 3 yards after contact per rush.
Oh, yeah.
And he averages more than 11 yards after the catch per reception.
Yeah, absolutely. Extremely productive player. Love this kid's talent, but that's expensive. But again, we're in a unique situation when you don't see teams in a situation like ours that come along too often. If you're going to make splash additions like this, now is the time to do it because you got the surplus of cap space. You have the surplus of draft capital. Now's the time you make splashes like that. I just don't know if you want to make that.
He also has the 3rd highest missed tackles forced per touch going back to 2017 on running backs with at least 200 touches or more. He averages 0.22 missed tackles forced per touch.
Impressive, but again, bro, that's expensive.
Well, yeah, I'm not giving this guy 13 to 16 million and then loading up and giving these guys a 1st and a 4th. You're crazy.
No, absolutely not. For a running back, no.
But I will say this: he is your replacement, long-term replacement, because Breida is going to probably be gone after this year, especially if he has a really good season. He'll probably price himself out.
And in terms of his contract, it's all about how you structure it. Like if you structure it like
you front load it, bro.
That way you get the protection on the back end. And again, it doesn't, even if you make an addition like that without giving up like a 1st or 2nd round pick, in terms of you going into next year wanting to pick a potential franchise back, that doesn't change your plans at all.
Yeah,
because you can still draft his replacement next year. Again, we're in a unique situation, but if you're going to make splash additions like this to your team, now is the time to do it because of the surplus of resources that you have.
For sure. But, I mean, I agree with you. I think he's a top 5 back in the NFL.
Yeah. Very good. Very productive player.
He's healthy, bro. He's very, very dangerous.
Yeah.
And he's one of the few running backs in the league you'd use the word dangerous with. You know what I mean? He's definitely up there, bro. So let's get in a little bit into the title of the show. Let's get into the players that we think, because there's 2 we've identified, one on defense, one on offense. The players we think need to be the best player on each respective side of the ball for this team to be successful in 2020. And when we talk about successful, we mean, being a playoff contender. especially coming off 5 wins last year, even vying for a playoff spot. To me, that's a successful year, coming off a 5-win year for sure. So let's start with who you picked on the defensive side of the ball. And you got to love the edit, the jersey swap fire.
Mr. Jones.
Dolphin. Byron Jones needs to be the best player.
Yes, sir. I think Byron Jones, if he, if he's able to perform, at an all-pro level, and he's the cornerback that he's been since he's been in the league. He's been performing at all-pro status, I would say, for the past three years maybe. I think for us to be, because I think his level, his presence, and I think the Dolphins I think this is the approach, that the Dolphins, if you look at the addition of him and then you turn around and you make a first-round investment on a cornerback, Noah Igbenogany, you're not making obviously, I think with Xavier Howard coming back, and again, this is all about, I think at the end of the day, it should have been kind of Byron Jones and Xavier Howard, because if Xavier Howard returns if he's healthy, there's no reason why I think he couldn't return to or close to Pro Bowl form, what we saw in 2018. Okay, with that being said, Byron Jones, in terms of the investment the Dolphins made in Byron Jones and his first-round pick in Noah Igbenogany, I think, again, the approach of the Miami Dolphins, as well as what we acquired on the defense through free agency, obviously the biggest investment was made in the secondary. So it doesn't take it doesn't take rocket science to figure out you can figure out what the Dolphins' approach will be this season, I think. And I think the most talent, in my opinion, is in the secondary. Okay. So the approach of the Dolphins will be to get as many cornerbacks, not cornerbacks and safeties, but cornerbacks with Howard, Jones, Igbenogany, Nick Needham, and possibly, Cordrea Tankersley. I think the approach will be to get those guys on the field as much at the same time, as many reps as possible. Okay. So if Byron Jones, this is why I picked Byron Jones, because with that being said about the Dolphins' approach, if Byron Jones is that all-pro, if he's at all-pro form and he's able to consistently take the number one wide receiver out of the equation on a week-to-week basis, that gives you tremendous versatility in terms of the formational deployments that you can throw, exotic formational deployments that you can throw at opposing teams. Him taking that guy out of because again, if you go through the rosters in the NFL, teams are lucky to have one quote unquote upper echelon all-pro potential weapon on the perimeter that you can consistently, you can say, this kid is going to go out there and get you six catches for 120 yards every single week. It's maybe 4 or 5 guys in the entire league that you can say that about. Okay. And so with that being said, you'd be hard pressed to find teams with 2 guys. So this is why I said, here's the importance of Xavier Howard with getting healthy and returning back to that 2018 form. Byron Jones, if he's that guy, if he's in all-pro form and he's able to erase that number one wide receiver, it frees up from a scheme standpoint so many things how you can scheme to take the pass away from opposing teams. And again, if you can do that, you can get extremely creative in your front seven in terms of bringing pressure and scheming pressure on opposing offenses. So with that being said, if we're that good, okay, and again, we can't do that unless we choke out teams on first, third, and second down. Okay, I'm sorry, first and second down. But again, if we're able to do that, we're able to get teams consistently off the field, 3 and outs, minimizing their opportunities. That's possessions you're giving right back to your offense. So you're giving Fitzpatrick more of an opportunity to make plays. You're giving the running game, hopefully our running game improves, okay, where we can win the We can control the clock. We can win that, the game of controlling the clock more consistently than we did last year. It just benefits. This is the importance to what Byron Jones can bring to your team. So it benefits the team overall. So again, if you look at how New England deploys their defense and deploys their secondary, they take the same approach. But why does it work for New England and it doesn't work for everybody else? They got one shutdown guy, okay, in Stephon Gilmore, and they've got everybody else is just very good. But we have potentially not only Byron Jones, but Xavier Howard. We have two potential shutdown corners in their prime, as long as Xavier Howard is healthy. So again, this is the importance of Byron Jones. I want to highlight, and I think Flores, they identified him in free agency as the player that they must have so they can implement more in terms of a scheme standpoint, the multiple coverages that they can throw from a secondary standpoint, okay, that they can throw at teams. That's why they knew we were 31st in the league last year in run defense. We were terrible at setting the edge last year. What they do, they went, identified two players that were excellent at what? Setting the edge in the run game. And in the addition of Kyle Van Noy to shore up that, I think, that other interior middle linebacker spot in this base 34 alongside Raekwon McMillan. But again, if you force teams to, you force that quarterback, when you have a secondary that can cover longer, you force that quarterback to hold on to that ball another second, another half and a second, another second and a half, another 2 seconds, allowing the rush to get there. This is the importance. This is what Byron Jones, a player like him, can bring to your defense, a la Stephon Gilmore's of the world, your Jalen Ramsey's of the world, your you remember when Darrelle Revis was in his prime, and I'm not saying Byron Jones is Darrelle Revis, but you look at how New York, when Rex Ryan was the when he ran that defense in New York when he was at the Jets, look at how they were able to deploy so many different exotic looks to opposing offenses because of the presence of a Darrelle Revis. Mm-hmm. So Byron Jones has that ability, and he's a much better athlete than Darrelle Revis ever was. And so this kid, he doesn't take the ball away, but I don't think this team, this staff. I'm calling it right
now. He gets an interception this year, bro.
I don't think this staff prioritizes.
I'm not saying they do, but I'm calling it he gets.
Right. I'm just saying, you have a lot of people that, to kind of take shots at him because he doesn't take the ball away. I don't think, again, this team prioritizes that. If you get an interception, obviously it's a bonus, but they require sticky man-to-man coverage. If a quarterback completes a football on you, you tackle him, get him on the ground as soon as possible. Mm-hmm. And that's what this kid can do. He's elite. If you look at his numbers matched up against the top flight wide receivers in the league, I think Travis Wingfield highlighted these on Twitter the other day. I mean, your DeAndre Hopkins, your the kid in New Orleans, Michael Thomas's of the world, Odell Beckham's of the world. This dude erases them, absolutely erases them.
So yeah, so
again,
this is what I'll get into right here because we talk about one thing you haven't really talked about is his tackling ability. I mean, he had 41 tackles last year, but he only had 2 misses. And another thing we've talked about too on this before, and I'll just remind everyone what a stop is, what we mean a stop. So a stop is a defensive stop, a tackle that constitutes a failure for that offense. Last year alone, he had 10 stops. He's great in the run game for a corner. He's smart. You go into this, let's talk about this, okay? So last year, he only allowed 331 yards against on over 50 targets. When you break down, he had, what did he have? He had 1, 2, 3, 4. He had 5 games last year where he allowed a passer rating under 40. Okay. When you go specifically to the game against New Orleans, where he was lined up against Michael Thomas all day, against Michael Thomas, he only allowed 2 receptions for 21 yards. He shut him down. And
he races him.
When you go even deeper than that, he had 7 games last year where he allowed under 10 yards per reception.
Hey, listen, reason. We don't even need to, and not to call out the homie Preston Williams, but put that Dallas tape on. Go put that Dallas tape on and look at the matchup between him and Preston Williams in that game.
Against Preston Williams last year, Byron Jones was targeted 4 times and he allowed 1 reception for 6 yards.
And we saw
he allowed a 39.6 NFL passer rating against.
So again, this is the benefit that this player brings to your defense. And again, his present, again, if he's in all pro form, okay, and he's the player, this is the player that we're getting. This is the benefit formationally and ultimately, again, you get teams off. If you don't have a presence like him in your secondary, you can't implement these exotic concepts to opposing teams. And we know in New England, historically, they're in terms of their formational deployment, they're as exotic as it gets. But you can't implement and you can't get into those packages unless you have a presence like him, erasing away teams' number 1 targets. Okay, and then again, if Xavier Howard comes back healthy, and he really, to be honest with you, and I told you this privately earlier, Xavier Howard really doesn't even need to return to Pro Bowl form. He just needs to be, number 1, durable, get his health right, and he just needs to be solid to really good. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to be exceptional because, again, on paper, Xavier Howard's production should go up because if he's taking the assignment of the opposing team's number 1 wideout, Xavier Howard is taking number 2. And so, again, Xavier Howard is a top 5, I think, healthy cornerback all day long. So he's going to be facing inferior talent. So on paper, the presence of Xavier Howard, again, I think the number 1 issue will be durability. So if he's healthy, again, you will see maybe not, and again, he doesn't have to return to Pro Bowl form. He just needs to be, again, solid, durable, solid, and to very good because he's going to be facing inferior talent. And then on top of that, with the presence of Byron Jones, okay, like you mentioned in the run game, the run support that he gives. And we all know how good Xavier Howard is in terms of run support.
He had a 75.1 run defense grade according to PFF last year.
Those are safety and linebacker numbers. Jerome Baker don't even have that, bro. Jerome Baker don't even have that.
Let's not get into it. Jerome Baker's run defense grade is under 50. It's like 46.
But again, I think ultimately the approach will be to get
87.4
solid. And again, he brings you that element if you want to deploy him in a traditional safety format, either free safety or strong safety. He's proven he's able to, he's dependable in terms of run support.
Mm-hmm.
So this player brings immense value to what we would like to do from a schematic standpoint. And again, I just think for us overall, he's the most important chess piece because you can't implement everything else that you want to do, that you like to do from a schematic standpoint, from a formational standpoint, from a conceptual standpoint, if you don't have a presence like this in your secondary.
Can I just put on display how lockdown he is for a sec? I'm going to go through game by game how many yards he allowed per game.
The floor is yours, Senator.
Week 1 against the Giants, 0. Week 2 against Washington, 78, which was his highest. Okay, but he was also targeted the highest. He allowed 7 receptions on 12 targets. But that was the highest he was targeted all year, okay? So 78 yards. Miami, week 3, 6 yards. New Orleans, week 4, 21 yards. Green Bay, week 5, 40 yards. The Jets, week 6, 37 yards. Week 7 against Philly, 0 yards. And he was targeted multiple times in that game. The Giants, week 9, 42 yards. Week 10 against Minnesota, 21 yards. Week 11 against the
0. Let me stop you. Hang on. Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen.
Yeah, he's probably on.
That's what they had.
I'm going to guess he was on Thielen.
Either one of them. Either one of them.
New England, week 12. Okay. He was targeted 6 times. He allowed 2 receptions for 30 yards. Week 13 against Buffalo, he was targeted 3 times and he allowed 13 yards. Week 14 against Chicago, he was targeted 7 times and only allowed 24 yards. Week 15, LA, he only allowed 19 yards on 2 receptions. And week 16 against Philly, for the second time this season, he allowed 0 receptions for 0 yards against Philly. So when you look at that, he has one game where he allowed 78 yards. Other than that, it's 0, 6, 21, 40, 37, 0, 42, 21, 0, 30, 13, 24, 19, 0. Like every other game other than that 78-1 is 42 or below.
Yeah, now once you dig into the analytics in the film study on Byron Jones, you see why Flores was couldn't wait to get the free agency.
Dude, and when we talk about how sure a tackler he is, we talk about how his yards after the catch he allowed. 0, 23, 0, 12, 7, 17, 0, 10, 10, 0, 4, 2, 13, 8, 0. That tells you right there, other than that game where he allowed 78 yards and 23 yards after the catch, clearly these guys, when he was allowing receiving yards, it was on the route. It wasn't after the route. You beat him. You got that separation, but as soon as you caught that ball, you were going down.
You get him on the ground. And you see, and again, reason, Xavier Howard gives you that kind of production, that productivity in terms of tackling and run support as well. So again, that improves the overall in terms of the run game with the presence of these two on a perimeter. They're good and they're exceptional. And Xavier Howard is as well from the cornerback position of diagnosing run plays and reacting before the receiver has an opportunity to get the ball on there in the backfield, consistently making plays, bringing down running backs, the opposing team's running back. We've seen that. We've seen that throughout Xavier Howard's career, and Byron Jones brings you that to his game as well. So again, this is why I think overall he's the most important chess piece. Again, they're going to be getting teams consistently off the field. Okay, 3 and outs, getting more possessions. Your offense is winning the possession game on a week-to-week basis, giving more opportunities to your offense to put points on the board. But again, I've highlighted all of the potential from a formational standpoint. We'll dig into that more detail at a later show in terms of diagramming plays and breaking down formations and concepts, how we think he'll be implemented on another show. But I'm just giving a brief overview of the potential that he has and the overall impact he'll have that he potentially could have on this team. But again, you're giving your offense. The objective of any defense is to minimize the opposing team's snap count. And again, a player like that, with that ability, and how they will use him, it goes a long way to us turning that around. You remember last year, bro? Look at how we were in 3 and out so many times last year, and teams consistently having the ball more than us. Again, I don't care how good your defense is. If teams are consistently winning in that snap count battle, your defense is going to break. I don't care who you are. So again, we got caught up last year because of no running game last year. We got caught up in too many consistent 3 and outs throughout the season last year. We got better as the season waned on and down the stretch. But again, this kid from the get-go with him and the addition of Xavier Howard and Igbenogany and my boy Nick Needham, telling you, we will turn that around and we will be forcing teams to get off the field more than we will. So I can't wait to see it.
All right. So let's get into who I selected on the offensive side of the ball. And I mean, we kind of talked about him a little bit earlier. For me, for where I'm at, I'm going to have to go with this man, the man with the black mask. To me, Jordan Howard needs to be the best player for us to be successful because
excellent choice.
I think the defense is kind of in a way as naive as it sounds. I think the defense is kind of going to take care of itself. You know what I mean? I'm more comfortable with where I'm at in terms of all the pieces we have, other than really the safety position. I'm pretty comfortable all around with where we're at defensively. But when I look at the offense, when I look at where we see how dependent this offensive line might be on rookies, where we see we're depending on Jakeem Grant, Albert Wilson, and Preston Williams to get back from injuries and get back to great form. We're hoping a guy like Kirk Merritt's going to crack it just to get that athleticism in the mix. And we're also hoping Fitzpatrick is going to be able to grow off of what he was able to do last year. And I think a lot of that falls on this man, Jordan Howard, because I think Breida's kind of going to be more of a complimentary back to him in terms of, we talked about this earlier in another show we'll do down the line in terms of how we deploy these running backs. We look at Howard, he could be getting, 200. He's probably going to get about 200 plus carries hovering around there, 200 to 225. But we want Breida, when it comes to carrying the ball, because of his size, because of his durability, we kind of want to put 125-ish is the golden number me and you settled on in our private conversation about where we feel comfortable in terms of the workload for Breida, because we believe this is going to turn into a power gap. That's the way, when you talk about Eric Flowers, Karras, they're phone booth guys, right? Really the guys who can get to the next level and play in open space are Austin Jackson and Robert Hunt. Everywhere else is kind of a phone booth kind of power guy, right? Not to say Robert Hunt and Austin Jackson don't have power. They're just they have a better ability to play in open space than everyone else we think we have on the line right now. Even Solomon Kinley, more of a phone booth mauler type of guy, right? So I think it's going to be even more essential for Jordan Howard to kind of find what he was doing over the past couple of years, not just with the Eagles. And what I mean by that is, if you look at Jordan Howard, since 2016, he has the third most rushing yards in the NFL, but he also has the third most attempts of any running back with 250 or more carries in that same time frame. So he's shown the ability to produce. I mean, last year, even though he only had 119 attempts last year with the Eagles, right? Part injury and how he's just used and stuff. He had 119 carries. He only had 525 yards, which is obviously his lowest, but he averaged 4.4 yards per carry, and he still managed to get 6 touchdowns. But when you look at when he was actually taking on workloads, like in Chicago, so in his first year, he had 252 attempts. In 2017, he had 276 attempts. In 2018, he had 260 attempts. He managed 1,313 yards in his first year. Then Tariq Cohen came around in that second year, and he got 1,122. And then the third year with Tariq, he got about 970 yards. But in his first year, he averaged 5.2 yards per carry, and in his second year, he averaged 4.1 yards per carry. And then when Tariq became even more in year 3, he averaged about 3.7 yards. So you got a guy who's never averaged less than 3.7 yards per carry in 4 seasons. And another thing, look at the touchdowns. First year, he had 6. 2017, he had 9. 2018, he had 9. 2019, he had 6. So you got a guy who hasn't had less than 6 yards. And, I mean, on 119 attempts, 525 yards, and 6 touchdowns is nothing to shake your stick at. That's pretty impressive. And when you look at the amount of carries he's getting, he hasn't shown to have a problem handling the rock. You know what I mean? He's only got 5 fumbles in over 900, and he's got 907 attempts. And he's only got 5 fumbles, bro. You got a guy who's got almost 4,000 yards, and he on those 900 plus attempts too. I just think, especially when we get in that red zone, especially when we get within 20 yards, a lot of the tone is going to be set by him. And, I think it's going to alleviate, no longer, we talked about earlier about Ryan Fitzpatrick having to lean on his improvisation. He won't have to do that as much anymore if Howard is doing his job, because then in turn, Breed is going to be doing his job. And for the first time in a long time, they're going to have to respect the run, because defenses haven't had to respect the run for us since JHI? You know what I mean? So that'll add the fact he'll have something that Marino rarely had, right? Where a team is going to have to scheme for Jordan Howard. And I think if Jordan Howard can get 225, I've said this before, give me 225 attempts for Jordan Howard, give me about 125 for Breida. Use Breida swinging out of the backfield. Okay, use him. We've talked about you can even line him up at the line because he has a pretty decent route tree for a running back. So you can even line him up in 4 or 5 receiver sets. Use Breida for that. You know what I mean? We talked about we don't want him going up in a power scheme. We don't want him going up in those middle gaps up against 300-pound defensive linemen, right? We want a guy like that to get his smaller frame into open space where he has to take on corners and safeties and linebackers that are under, 260 pounds, 250 pounds, right? And a guy like Howard is the one we want to take the brunt of that, because if you go back to even before free agency, you go back onto the other platform, what was one thing? I was actually one of the first that said it. I will actually take credit. I was the first that said it. What was one of the things I say why I wanted Jonathan Taylor, right? I wanted to create a smash. And remember, I said I wanted to draft Tua. I wanted to get our offensive line. I wanted to draft one of those big running backs. And what did I want to do? A smash mouth culture. And Jordan Howard gives us that ability, if he can stay healthy, to do that smash mouth culture where not only is a guy like Robert Hunt a bully, but behind that bully is a guy willing to drop his pad and knock your helmet off your top. And we haven't had something like that since Ricky. Even J.J. was physical, but he wasn't violent like Ricky.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, I look at it. That's a good, excellent selection. But in terms of the question of the show, I just don't think Jordan Howard has to be the best player for us to have the most success. Now, I think he just needs to be that complementary piece. And the question mark I have with him,
I think Fitzpatrick has to complement him.
They go both, they go both hand in hand. They go both hand in hand. But Jordan Howard, this is where I push back. I like him. I love the addition. Love his physical style that he brings. It's just I just don't think he's going to be healthy enough. Even if he is healthy for 16 games, I just don't think he has that elite ability to be the best player on this team. As long as I think he just needs to be a good complementary piece is what he needs to be.
Hey, him and Tariq Cohen were the best players on those Bears offense for those 2 years where they were really good.
Yeah. I'd have to go back and
because Kevin White busted out. Trubisky was there. It was Tariq, and it was Howard for the first year was that best player on offense where he put up 1,300 yards, and then that second year where he still had over 1,100 yards. Him and Tariq had almost 1,000. Him and Tariq led that offense where that was a little Mac, right?
They had no presence on the boundary, and they had no tight end, but we do. Is he a better player than? Is he even if he's healthy and he meets our expectations?
I think he opens up, man, because all of a sudden,
I agree. Oh, absolutely. I'm not minimizing this kid's impact. I'm not minimizing it. I'm just saying I don't think he has to be the best player in order for us to have success. I just don't.
Because like I said earlier, I think the defense, what we have in place, is going to take care of itself, and it's going to come down to we can hold you to 13 points, but can we score more than 13 points?
Yeah.
Now, and I think that's where Howard's going to come into play.
Absolutely. His presence will be welcomed and valued. But I just don't think, even if he's healthy, I don't see him as the best player on potentially in any scenario, the best player on this team. I think because number one, he's not an elite athlete. Devontae Parker is a much better his overall impact. Big playability. I don't care what Jordan Howard, how healthy he is, he'll never surpass. He'll never be in the echelon.
You get a 250 carry season and a 1,300 yard season from him. He's the best player on offense, probably.
Well, bro, I hear you.
I just gave you a situation where he puts up 1,300
I just don't see
yards.
that.
I just put up a hypothetical where he puts up 1,300 yards, and you still don't think he might be the best player if he puts up 1,300 yards?
I just think because he's not that. He's first off, 1,300 yards. I think is unrealistic, and I don't think he has to have 1,300 yards. And again, that dual role ability, his carries. I don't think his number one.
He needs to break it down.
Yeah. Oh well. Yeah. Well. I'll say this: 4.5 yards a carry. That's what he needs to average every time he touches the football. 4.5 yards a carry, because that forces teams. When you have 4.5 yards and you exceed 5 yards a carry, you have the attention of opposing defensive coordinators.
Okay, so hold on. Let's do something. So I just said I want him to have 225-ish carries, okay?
I didn't say that. You said that. I don't think it's carry.
I want that.
Right.
Because Breida's only going to have about 125. So I want 200 to 225. So I'll give you 210 carries, okay? Let's go 210 carries. Okay? So 210. So you're looking for, on 210 carries, you want 945 yards.
Yeah, absolutely. For number one, because of the durability concerns, I don't necessarily think the running back is going to be our offense is going to take a two-headed approach. I think it'll be. I think you'll see Laird.
You can't bring those concerns in, but then not have those concerns and use our strength and conditioning on a guy like Devontae Parker.
Well, no,
it could happen on these guys too.
Well, me personally, this is how my approach. If I was a coach to running backs, I don't want a guy that's eating.
And he only had 1 year where he was really injured, bro.
Oh, okay. But again, if you go back again, I hate to compare Brian Flores to what transpired in New England, how they did things, how they deployed their offense. They took a three-headed, sometimes four running backs at times. So I don't think they brought him in to get 250, 300, 350 carries. I think it'll be broke. I think it'll be a multi-back approach. Him, Matt Breida, Patrick Laird, I think will be on this roster. Hopefully, I'm pretty sure you're gonna kill me. But Kalen Ballage, you know what I mean, or Miles Gaskin. I think it'll be a multi-back approach. And again, they didn't sign him to a huge, contract. They gave him a marginal contract. And again, I'm not minimizing Jordan Howard. I love the addition. I love him. I love his game. But I just don't think he's going to warrant. I don't think he's going to get that many carries to where you can point at him and say, okay, well, that's the best player on our team. And, I just don't see that. I just think, again, 4.5 yards a carry needs to be the benchmark, okay? And, 4.5 yards a carry and above, you have the attention of the opposing defenses. That'll force teams to scheme for the run as well. And, again, if that happens, that's when the play action will benefit from actually having a play action next year, and that'll open everything up. Not necessarily his yardage total, but his yardage per carry.
Okay, so in 2017 and 2018, both Tariq Cohen and Jordan Howard were there. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So in 2017, Jordan Howard had 276 attempts. Tariq Cohen had 87. Okay? So that works out to about, if I say 225 to one and 125 to another, that's because they're about 360 something between the two of them there. In 2018, Jordan Howard had 260 attempts, okay, and Tariq Cohen now had 100. So again, about 360 between the two of them. So that's where I'm finding my 200 to 225 for Howard and 125-ish for Matt Breida on the ground, because they're going to be – I think they're going to be deployed similarly to what those two were.
Well, I just think, again, and I could be off base by saying
it's very similar. It's very, very –
yeah, I agree. But again – I get that, and I get why you would select him.
And this is where Tariq Cohen in that first year had 65 targets, and then in 2018 with 100 to go along with his 100 attempts, he had 91 targets.
Okay.
So I see a lot of the similarity in terms of what they were building with Howard and Tariq Cohen. When I look at Tariq Cohen and Breida, I see a lot of similarities in their game too.
Absolutely. But again, even if Jordan Howard gets 200, he gets 300 carries. I don't think he's the best player on this offense, and I don't think he needs to be for us to be successful. I really don't. So
to make the playoffs, I think the running game needs to be. I think the running game needs to be established and to be respected, and for that to happen, I think he needs to be our best player on offense.
Well,
earlier why I want Fitzpatrick to hit between that 25 to 28 touchdown range, but only 8 or 9 picks, because I want him to be a complementary piece to what we're doing in the backfield until Tua takes over.
I hear you. I hear you. I emphatically disagree with that, but I hear you.
Over the last decade, here's a list of running backs with as many rushing yards and touchdowns as Dolphins running back Jordan Howard. Decade. Ezekiel Elliott, Todd Gurley, Arian Foster, end of list.
But again, do you put him in the is he Adrian Peterson?
But
put him in that category?
He does his job quietly and efficiently. That's all
no.
A flash guy.
And again, I'm not saying he doesn't need to be effective and he doesn't need to be a solid complementary piece. I'm not saying that at all.
He put up 1,300 yards in his rookie season, and his longest run was 69 yards. When he put up 1,100 yards in his second season, his longest was 53. This guy just grinds you out. That's all he does.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm not in terms of his talent and the value that he brings, I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just disagreeing with you on the fact that he don't need. First off, he's not the best player on this offense. He never will be. I don't care how many carries he gets. And I just don't think he has to be the best player on our team for us to have the most success. I just don't see that. I just don't believe that. But we'll see how it all unfolds. If he turns out to be that back, I mean, the better he is, obviously, it's better for the overall success of the offense, okay? But I just don't think –
Well, if we want to be successful and we want to play action to be successful, Jordan Howard better do his damn job.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, I just think it'll be a multi-dimensional approach, the running back approach they're going to take. Not only him and Breida, but I think Patrick Laird is going to get I love Patrick Laird's skill set. And again, with the improvement up front, we actually have people that can, move and create space and create lanes and create holes for our running backs. You can see his impact go up. And again, I'm gonna get off that Kalen Ballage. I'm gonna stop talking about Kalen Ballage until training camp, because I don't want anybody out there to come back if he winds up pooping the bed again and they turn around cutting him in August. I don't want anybody coming back at me. I'm just saying his overall talent level.
Kalen Ballage is the only one we haven't seen a workout video from on offense.
Well, in terms of I'll say this. In terms of Kalen Ballage's ability to grind and keep himself in peak condition, that's not a concern of mine, because this dude is built like a Greek god, bro. That's never been his issue. The knock on him, I told you his pre-draft, one of his pre-draft evaluations was that he looked like Tarzan but played like Jane. I remember that quote from some NFL scout the year he came out. But in terms of him keeping his body in peak condition, that's never been a concern of mine.
And he got hands like a T-Rex.
I hear you. But we'll see. But love Jordan Howard. It's a good selection. he's definitely for him, if he again 4.5 yards a carry, bro, that's gonna open everything else up for this team, for this
last year he
offense.
averaged 4.5. Who's to say he doesn't have 5.5? Who's to say he doesn't hover around
Jordan
4.8,
Jordan Howard did last year?
Yeah, he averaged 5. Buddy, dude, do you not realize he had 119 attempts and he got 525 yards on 119 attempts? He was averaging he was averaging 4.4. Sorry, I was talking about his rookie year. His rookie year, on 252 attempts, he averaged 5.2 yards per carry.
Yeah. 4.4, 4.5, 4.5 is plenty enough. And again, I'm not trying to minimize this kid's potential impact. I love this kid, and I think he's going to bring. He's exactly what we need. The type of back that they've been trying to make Kalen Ballage out to be. He's already that guy. So, but I just don't think he needs to be the best player on our team for us to have the most success.
All right, brother. So we're at the 120. We're at the hour 20-minute mark. Is there anything else you wanted to go over before we get out of here?
Wow. Went by fast, bro.
It flew by, brother.
Wow, it did, man. No, bro. Another good show.
Because we'll be back tomorrow, guys. So
very good. No, just appreciate everybody again for coming out. Appreciate everybody. And how many days are we away from training camp?
97. From the regular season, we're 97 days away from the regular season.
Man, that seems like it's going by. It's taking like 10 years.
Training camp last year started July 17th. I haven't heard a date yet this year, though. So,
yeah. But, yeah, man, just appreciate everybody again, all the love and support, fellas. And you already know what it is. All day, every day, baby.
Yes, sir. All right, guys. So, thanks for coming out. We will be back tomorrow night. That's why we're kind of like just doing an hour and a half show tonight because we'll probably be going for 2 hours or so tomorrow. So, man. I want to appreciate everyone for coming out. As always, smash that like button if you haven't. Subscribe if you are enjoying the content that you're seeing. And, man, if you'd like to donate to the channel, paypal.me/Phinside. On our way to 1K. At 1K, we're going to be doing a giveaway, guys. So like, share, get as many people as you can to hit that subscribe button so we can get it up. And, man, we'll be back tomorrow night, guys. Until then, we hope you all stay safe. Have a good night. And, hey, we'll see you all tomorrow. Until then, fins up all day.
Be safe, everybody.